My name is Vanessa Slongo, and I am responsible for digital solutions we are currently developing at the Oase Group. During the project with Smart Liberty and the Modica app, I was the project manager. At the Oase Obergosken, where we first introduced the project, we had major difficulties with internet telephony. Wired landline telephony worked perfectly. However, there were significant problems with the smartphones that were also used by the nursing staff. It was almost impossible to reach anyone. When an alarm came in, the connection was interrupted, so you couldn't hear the caller anymore. The audio quality was poor, or people could not be reached at all. Which of course was very bad for the care staff and for the relatives who tried to reach the care team. There were a lot of communication problems, both among each other in the care team and when someone external called. And the telephones also failed when an alarm came in. There were various problems that made communication difficult both internally and externally. The problems mentioned earlier, such as unavailability, poor connection quality, and poor audio quality, were of course massive. What bothered me personally, because I was often in Obergosken and did a lot of tests, was the problem between the nurse call system and the telephony. Because everything ran over the same network, you have to imagine that it often rings in a nursing department. I kept losing the caller, which caused additional work, because the nurse had to keep calling back. These things just have to work. We can't accept it like that. We couldn't leave the care staff with this problem anymore. And that was the reason why we started looking for another solution. However, it wasn't like we started looking for something new immediately. We spent a long time trying to fix the problems. For example, we got new hardware, new smartphones. The firewalls had to be configured differently, or even network optimizations, which almost made things worse. All of the previously mentioned disruptions were resolved by the introduction of the new GSM network that complements our internet network. The biggest relief for the nursing staff is that they could now be reached again, and that the nurse call system and telephony no longer interfered with each other. It was also particularly appreciated that the alarms are now more transparent. They also got tablets in the station rooms on which everyone could see which resident or client had called and how long they had been waiting, and could decide for themselves who to go to first. And of course, they can take over the alarms via smartphone, so the whole team knows that someone is already on the way, and the others don't have to go. On one hand, this has led to an increase in efficiency in care, because normally you had to call around to ask who was available. This is no longer necessary. The new solution has been very well received by the staff, especially the nursing staff. Of course, the other departments, like maintenance and the kitchen, got the same solution, but our main focus was on nursing. They were very relieved and positive because they had suffered so much with the old system. I have to say that the project was set up very quickly. At the beginning, there was a contract phase with all parties involved. These contracts have to be read, understood, and optimized. After this phase, we were able to organize 2 workshops to train staff in how to use the Modica app on site. After that, a few tweaks were still needed before everything was in place. For example, until all the data was in the system with all the names. All in all, we were ready after 2 months. Switching from an old system to a new one is more complicated than if you decide to use the Modica app from the beginning. But the first direct implementation was very fast. Yes, because the Modica app is specifically developed for mobile activities. That's exactly what we were looking for. We were satisfied with our fixed-line telephony, so it was mainly about mobile telephony. Then the combination with the RoofCom system is very positive because the alarming and the telephony run on the same device. The functions of the alarming, the takeover, the cancellation, or the possibility of getting assistance eliminate the need for constant phone calls and disturbing colleagues in the care team. Everyone can see what is needed on their devices and can respond when and if they have time. And from that point of view, the needs of the Oase group or similar institutions, which are vast and where you have to go from one house to another a lot, are covered. Especially in the conversations now after 2 years, I ask the staff, and they are still very satisfied with the solution. It is not planned that way. So, at the Oase Lindenhof, we also installed the system. It is a large house with several buildings, and the new solution was also very well received there. However, the reason there is no gradual rollout is the pricing. Our experience has been that a conversion or a change from the old system to a new system is very expensive. Much more expensive than if you were to implement it directly. And of course, you have to think about that very carefully, especially if IT costs are already increasing every year. With all the innovative solutions that are available, as a group, you also have to consider, do we switch or do we just introduce the new houses? However, these are strategic decisions that the group will take. The visibility of the alarm processes and the quick response of the nursing staff were, of course, very positive. And our residents and clients have also noticed this and given us feedback that they feel that they get help quicker when they call for it. It is a greater support for the employees if they do not have to call around for assistance, but can solve everything via the Modica app because they can see who is online, who is in the house, who is currently absent, and who is on vacation. This means that you don't have to call many people, but can ask for assistance from colleagues who are present, which makes everything a little faster. The person in charge also feels more confident. For example, if the person responsible is on site, whether during the day or the late shift, and notices an extended waiting time, they can immediately identify the issue. As the system ensures full transparency for everyone, check what the problem is, why no one is responding, whether everyone is busy, or at least turn off the bell and let the resident know when someone will come. This is also very much appreciated. In this sense, no. What was new, of course, were the GSM antennas. They measured everything very professionally to find out which network would be optimal, and then they installed the antennas. They are like little hotspots. They are white and not particularly noticeable because they are attached quite high up on the ceiling. It wasn't technical, but of course, we were concerned about the look and feel so that they wouldn't be too noticeable. We wanted to avoid these boxes being visible everywhere. This was something new and unusual for us, but not a problem. Nursing is becoming more and more efficient in the alerting process, which is very important. If you've never worked in nursing yourself, it can be hard to imagine, but no 2 days are the same, and no resident is the same every day. There are many emergency situations in which quick help is needed, and you have to quickly organize a colleague. From my own experience, I know how long it can take trying to reach people by phone who may already be on a break or no longer in the building. The transparency of who is in the house, who I can contact, or even in the alerting process, that I can see that the colleague has taken over the alarm, makes the care extremely efficient. The display of employees in the system requires the data to be entered first, but that's a one-time thing, and then the new employees are continuously recorded. Professional mobile telephony should be a given, but that was not the case before, and that is certainly a big advantage. Deck telephony is no longer an option for us. If you know today's requirements in nursing, and above all, that nursing staff need certain apps on their smartphones, for example, to vocally record the care documentation, you need background programs that run on the smartphone, and you can forget that with deck telephony. So these two requirements are incompatible with each other, and that's why we wouldn't rely on such an old system anymore. Although it worked very well for what it was built for, namely just telephony and alarming, this is simply no longer sufficient for today's requirements. We would also no longer use VLAN telephony based on our experience. If modifications are required, this is usually significantly more expensive than if you implement it directly. For us, the GSM solution is the right one. Of course, SIM cards are also needed. You have to be aware of that. But there are good offers for SIM cards for institutions at attractive conditions. There are a lot of advantages. It is a lean project management with the 2 workshops where the entire staff can be trained in one day. We did half in the morning and half in the afternoon. It's not a huge project management that takes a lot of internal resources. The Smart Liberty team was extremely nice, friendly, and did everything for us professionally and quickly. I was there for the whole introduction. When the phones were up and running, I was also on site, and even on a late shift, and was able to observe how things went much better, and above all, much more efficiently afterwards. The combination with the RoofCom system and the functionalities of the alarming should fully meet the needs of similar organizations. Pure internet telephony would of course be cheaper, because an additional network is added with the GSM network. You have to be aware of this. The conversion to a new system is of course more expensive than if the Modica app had been introduced from the start. That was our experience, since we introduced 2 houses, Lindenhof as a new site, and in Obergusgein as an existing site, in which we changed the system. But we also needed a new Get server from RoofCom, and that was also a large item on the quote. All the network measurements, because you have to find out which provider is best for the location, were also quite surprising to me due to their high cost. You have to install an antenna on the roof and the fixed points in the house itself. And we also needed new smartphones, because some of them no longer met the requirements and were almost broken. That wasn't directly related to the project, but it was a significant investment for us. The project services were kept within reasonable limits, As I said, it was a lean project. We met in person with the whole team once for the kickoff meeting, plus for the workshop that took place on site. Otherwise, we did everything online, which of course also saved time and travel.